What is good, NIO family? It's Rey-Jay back with another video, and in this one, I'm going to be talking about the one and only NIO stock, what you should be looking out for the future. I'm also going to compare NIO's price action to that of the SPY and the Nasdaq, and talk about why on earth we could see a big bounce relatively soon, and when it may end up coming. Now, before I break anything down, before I get into any more details, I do have to mention a couple of things before starting. Firstly, I'm not a financial planner. Don't take any of this as financial advice whatsoever. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button if you want to see more videos like this. It not only benefits me, it benefits the entire NEO community as a whole. And the last things, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link down below and in the description. If you sign up for Webull, the link down below, and deposit any amount of money into the account, you're guaranteed up to 12 free stocks, each worth up to $2,000. And the best part is, any of these 12 free stocks could be a free NEO share. It's a limited time offer. The offer ends today, so please check it out before they run out. With that out of the way, let's get on with the video. So when it comes to NEO, right now we have seen this thing take a bit of a hit, but I want to talk about why on earth we could see NEO drop a little bit more before we get a big bounce and this thing actually explodes. Now, I know that sounds kind of like crazy. I know it sounds very unrealistic, but once you see this, it's going to make a lot of sense. So if you look at NEO, even though this NEO stock has been like dropping for quite a bit of time, we're not dropping on a straight line. We have these like big drops followed by these like big or like small rips that are a part of it. And in my honest opinion, guys, I think NEO is set to do something very similar very soon. So what do I mean by that? Well, look at this big drop we got back in like March. NEO came down, right? The market was dropping. NEO came down very hard in March, but then we went from 13 bucks all the way up to about 24. So that's almost double. We almost doubled in a couple of weeks near the end of March. Then what happened back in May? Remember the market crashed in May going into like June. NEO actually crashed before the overall market. So NEO came down like this. And then we got a big reversal. NEO crashed down to 11 bucks, but then we got a big reversal. We pushed up to about 24. So we more than doubled, or yeah, we more than doubled again in less than like a month and a half. So you can see that we get these big bounces, and we have these tendencies of doing that. Now, since then, NEO started to slowly descend like this, filling these gaps slowly. And then finally, what happened was we filled another gap. There was like a gap here that formed in September when the market was like rallying. NEO pushed up too. And finally, we got a big rejection, huge rejection after that, filling both of these gaps. Then I mentioned to everyone, I told everyone I saw NEO filling the gap to 17 back then, and that is what happened. And now I'm telling you, I could see NEO actually fill the gap down here into like 13 before we get a big bounce. And the 12 to 13 range is where I think NEO will get a big bounce. I want to actually explain why I think that and how this could actually play out. So when you look at SPY, right, it's also dropping. Very similar setup with that of NEO. If you guys look at them like side by side, they're quite similar going to like September. Yeah, so there's similarities here and there, but also if you go back and look at them differently, if you look at like the Nasdaq, super similar setup too, right? Very, very similar. So my point is we're starting to see some very similar price action between the overall market, and it is collectively affecting us based off what the Fed is doing. The market is in like extreme fear mode. We know when we become extremely fearful, when the market starts crashing, we may have more room to crash. People start to panic sell, but that's when everyone turns bearish. When everyone thinks it's going to crash, that's when the bulls come in almost out of nowhere and they make the market reverse. So historically, October tends to be a better month than September. In September, we're dropping pretty hard, but we're looking for that capitulation phase to come in if we were to follow this. And it seems very likely like we will follow this because the market can't just drop and drop and drop and drop and not get some relief during that time frame. So with midterm elections coming up very soon, it's very likely the market rallies as we approach them because we are dropping in the month of September just like this so far. So I'm going to be watching for capitulation within the next couple of weeks, and I believe that that is what we're going to see. So right now everyone is fearful, right? The Nasdaq is coming down. Yeah, the SPY, Nasdaq, they're going to make new lows. It looks like that. But I'm going to be watching SPY because we haven't gotten confirmation of the bounce, but we have all these gaps up here. So to me, it looks like it's going to come back up and fill these gaps like pretty quickly over the next like month or two. I'm going to show you why. So considering that we have those midterm elections, the SPY is likely going to descend at some of these key zones. Let me just paint two of them for you. One of them is going to be that 350, another one is that 340. I could see SPY coming to one of these ranges. It's going to drop like pretty hard. And in fact, that's like a crash basically. And we're going to get a big bounce when people least expect it. And it could even start as early as Monday. But I just don't have confirmation of it, but I think it's going to come very soon. So considering that NIO has to drop or likely will drop back to the 13s, another dollar or so, NIO has some room to go. So I'm looking at SPY and it's looking like we could come down like this. Maybe 350 is the bottom, at least for the temporary time frame. Maybe it goes lower, but a big bounce should come, or maybe some capitulation. Sorry about that. First, and then as we approach like the second week of October, we could start pushing up again. And then we start pushing up really hard as we approach the end of October. Going into like November, we start to see SPY rally and rally and rally like pretty fast, start filling all these gaps up as we approach the midterms. And we could see SPY actually approach 400 by then. Very possible. It can happen almost out of nowhere. Like I mentioned, the market could be crazy sometimes. With that said, a lot of people are expecting this, so you could argue that it decreases the odds of that happening. But then you also have to remember the market cannot just crash like this, especially over the last like couple of weeks. We can't just crash without getting somewhat of a relief bounce, right? And maybe it is possible for us to come lower, like down here. That's also very possible. I'm not entirely sure which one it's going to be. No one truly knows. Since we are in new territory, we haven't been in this territory for a long time. But many people talk about how 340 is that key zone because that's where we essentially ran up to and got rejected at during that previous flash crash. So, anyways, enough about SPY and NASDAQ and all that. How will this affect NIO? So, we have elections coming up, right? We also have this gap down here. Let's actually try to draw this out now. Let me see if this actually works. All right, so we have all these key levels, but I'm going to be watching that 12 to 13 range. And also, as we approach midterms, I'm anticipating a big reversal from NIO because the whole market might start to reverse. It's going to have its influence on this stock. NIO has more relative strength than before because the SPY, the NASDAQ are at their lows or making new lows, and NIO is not making new lows. All right, NIO was at 11 bucks. It should have been at 11 bucks when it was much weaker before. NIO is holding up a lot better, so that's a pretty decent sign. Additionally, when you look at the share price, yes, I could see us come down a bit. So we're, in my opinion, if we break below like 15, very likely we're going to come to this 12 to 13 level that I was actually talking about. Let me fix something real quick. Sorry about that. This 12 to $13 level, like right here, very likely we come down like this. It can happen like way sooner as well. Right here, the gap fill, we might just see another big crash, completely fine, very good buying opportunity, followed by a nice bounce. It could all happen in one day. By mid-October, I anticipate we're going to see a bit of a bounce, and after that, we start to actually push up like this. Click that. Then we start to push up and up, and we just start to rally as we approach the midterms, just like this. And we start to fill some of the gaps we made from before. This thing could actually just rally like super fast when people least expect it. As fast as it ran up, we can actually run up like this. And it's very likely we're going to see a move like this, in my honest opinion. So let me just fix this. I think I was clicking the zoom in and got kind of messed up. I'm sure you guys get my point from here. Moves like this, very much possible. So for NIO, watch for those big reversals. I would say between that 12 to 13 level, that's where I'm watching for the big bounce. And maybe I'm a little off. Maybe it goes lower, maybe not, but it should be very close to that range, in my honest opinion. Now, drops like this, they're not happening as a result of fundamental improvements or disadvantages. There are lots of companies getting these big upgrades in their price targets, price forecasts from many analysts, and yet they're crashing because the whole market is just running based off the Fed and the news, and it's just panic and chaos right now. I'm not losing faith though. One thing that's good about the month of October is when you look at the FOMC calendar, we don't actually have a meeting date. The Fed is not going to be raising any rates in October. They're not scheduled to do that. We do have big inflationary readings coming out, so please be on the lookout for that. But other than that, I'm still standing by this. I still think it's very likely we get a big reversal when people least expect it. But I can't promise that we're just going to like continue to rally to new highs from here. Another drop in the future, like around the month of December, is also possible depending on the Fed. All right. So with that said, I don't want to like spread fear to anyone about the later months. I don't want to even talk about like December or anything like that just yet. I want to just focus on the next couple of weeks for NIO, and I am anticipating a move like this. Watch for that capitulation where the market starts to like hold up, trade sideways for some time. That could be a sign for a temporary bottom before we get a big bounce. Keep your eyes open, guys. This is what I'm forecasting for NIO. And please, please, please enjoy the rest of your weekend. Thank you all for listening. Have an absolutely incredible rest of the day. And I'll see you guys in the next one. NIO to the moon, because the long-term future is still very bright. Fundamentally, it's still very strong despite everything. And peace out.